Good evening. This is CTV News for Monday, October 31st. I'm Denise Douglas.
And I'm Patricia Malone. Thank you for joining us this evening. Well, a broad coalition spotlights the need to protect elections and counter efforts to intimidate voters. Attorney General Brian Frosh, Senator Ben Cardin, and State's Attorney Angela Osso Brooks joined other leaders urging voters to know your rights.
It's against the law to threaten or to intimidate voters, period. If your right to vote is challenged, if you're harassed on election day, notify an election judge. That's why they're there. If your credentials aren't totally in order on the day of election, if they're questioned, you can vote provisionally. Don't leave the poll without casting your ballot.
For those, for example, who do not have English as their first language, they should be reminded that they do have the right to bring someone with them into the polling place to provide assistance. This is likewise true for individuals who have disabilities and require assistance.
Well, the comments were made during a press conference this morning at the Prince George's Sports and Learning Complex, one of 9 early voting sites in the county. Senator Ben Cardin also spoke about the FBI director's recent decision to reopen a probe of Hillary Clinton's emails.
This is extraordinary that he would send this type of letter out so close to an election. It breaks the principles of the Justice Department on notifications close to election. And for all those reasons, we sent a letter urging him to be much more open about what is involved here.
Meantime, if you have any concerns about your rights as a voter or are a victim of intimidation or harassment at the polls, you can call 1-866-OUR-VOTE.
Some more political news. Green Party candidate Margaret Flowers is hoping to get your vote. She's running for the Senate seat being vacated by Democrat Barbara Mikulski. She jumped into politics years ago as an activist working to promote universal health care. I spoke with her earlier about what other issues she thinks are important in this election.
And so private health insurance companies, pharmaceutical companies, they're constantly fighting against the health professionals to try to either raise their prices or avoid paying for things. And their decisions are not based on what's best for the patient. So it's making the system very complicated and difficult for health professionals to provide care in. And so we're seeing a lot of professionals leaving practice after a short time. And we have to change that. We need to go to a model like we have with a traditional Medicare here in this country, or like they have in other countries, where the bottom line is health.
Okay, and there are a lot of other issues that you are pushing for as well. Economic justice, talking for a more balance in terms of wealth and so forth. What specifically do you mean by that?
Right. So after, pushing for a single payer improved Medicare for all system in Congress, what became really apparent is that if we just provide access to care, we're still not going to improve our health outcomes unless we deal with one of the other biggest drivers, which is wealth inequality. And we see continuing growth of the wealth divide. So now the bottom 50% of people in our country are sharing 1% of the wealth, and the bottom 25% are in debt. So that's not sustainable. So what we're talking about in my campaign is really creating a system where we, one, hold Wall Street accountable so they don't prey on people and put us in a unstable situation in the future. Also changing our tax system to be more fair, so a progressive tax system that taxes wealth, because we have growing wealth in this country, it just keeps going to the top. So we need to bring that money back where it needs to be with people. And then so by doing those taxes, then we can reinvest that into communities. There are a lot of really exciting models that are out there right now that actually build wealth within communities and lift people up, as opposed to coming in and gentrifying and pushing people out. So these are some of the things I'd be working towards, as well as a guaranteed basic income so that every person can meet their basic needs. It ends poverty immediately, ends the need for many poverty programs, and stimulates the economy from the bottom up.
How's your message being received? We know that you are out there on the campaign trail. How is your message being received?
It's amazing. It's received well everywhere we go, and by people from all parties. So when I'm speaking at forums and I have people from different parties around me, afterwards they say, wow, many of the things you say make sense. So many of the issues that I'm promoting are things that majorities of people in the United States support.
Conversation earlier with Margaret Flowers. I also talked to her about the two-party political system in our country and the presidential candidates. We'll hear from her about those issues tomorrow. And just to kind of reinforce it, she is running against Democrat Chris Van Hollen and Republican Kathy Szeliga for the Senate seat in Congress.
Well, 2 teens are dead following a shooting early Sunday morning in Capitol Heights. Police say 14-year-old Todd Webb Jr. and 18-year-old Brian Davis were shot along with 4 others at the Regency Lane apartment complex. Webb and Davis were pronounced dead at the scene. 2 victims are still in the hospital and the other 2 have been released.
Went outside 2 o'clock in the morning.
Well, what they were doing, they're still part of the investigation. We're looking into it, and even now, we're a little over 24 hours later. We're still interviewing witnesses and trying to get to the bottom of exactly what happened that morning.
A $25,000 reward is being offered to anyone with information leading to an arrest and indictment in this case.
The Prince George's Sheriff's Department is responsible for executing peace and protective orders issued by the court for victims of domestic violence. The office is also engaging in community awareness activities to help end the cycle of abuse. Purple Light Nights is one of the many events the Sheriff's Department hosts.
From dusk into the evening hours, residents and county officials came out in support of Purple Light Nights.
It's kind of a take on National Night Out. As opposed to a regular light bulb, we ask every resident, every citizen to take a purple bulb, put it on their porch or in a light that's visible to the outside, and put that purple light on to say that they're in this effort with us to overcome domestic violence.
Since 2014, the event has become the official kickoff to Domestic Violence Awareness Month in Prince George's.
We started thinking many years ago about this issue and the challenge, and the big challenge was the silence, that people weren't willing to really speak about it. Our community and the nation kind of looked at it and they said this is a family matter, and so people were being abused, harmed, and hurt.
People like Penny Nicholas. She's a survivor in more ways than one.
I was somewhat hesitant to come and wear this shirt because it does stand out and it does speak about who and what I am. And I came again tonight, even though I'm not feeling well, because I am a 2-time breast cancer survivor, open heart surgery survivor, and survivor of domestic violence. But I came out tonight because what is killing me is the domestic violence.
Although the event puts a spotlight on domestic violence abuse in the county each October, Sheriff High and his team work around the clock to make sure residents are kept safe year-round.
Domestic violence is a national, perhaps world issue, and so certainly it impacts Prince George's County. My goal is to get to no incidents of domestic violence in our community, but right now that's a challenge. Even though we've done a significant number of things as a county to raise awareness about this issue and the resources that are available, there are still many people who don't know. So just like you with your television station and all of our media and others to help us raise the awareness and share information as often as we can with our citizens so that no citizen is unaware that resources are available and they don't have to live in a circumstance of hurt and pain.
Stay tuned later this week as we share more on the issue of domestic violence. You are watching CTV News. I'm Denise Douglas.
And I'm Patricia Vallone.